Welcome to the Living Consciously TV show. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and our theme today is how to and why belong to a community. Let me introduce you to our guest cast as well as our entire Self-Evolution cast today. Our guest cast is Andrea Constantine, and she is coming to us right here from Denver, and she's here with us in the studio. And she's an author as well as a speaker and a coach. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Andrea.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, very welcome. And we also have Janet Cook.
Yep, came all the way in.
She's also from our backyard, from Aurora, Colorado. And she's part of our Health and Wellness Evolution cast. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
And we also have on Skype joining us from that beautiful city called Las Vegas, Nina Diver de Rosa. She's also part of our Self-Evolution cast. And welcome to the show.
Andrea, excuse me.
Yeah, great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, so let's begin with the leading question, and the leading question is, of course, to you, Andrea. And on your website, I noticed something about Maslow's hierarchy that I think you did a blog on, or something you wrote. And I noticed that the second one is about belonging and about love and about being affiliated to each other and to be accepted and to belong. So why is it then, Andrea, that today, if I look around in my neighborhood, for example, our neighbors don't even know each other?
That's such a great question. And I think sometimes what the problem is that people are disengaged, and I think also that technology has played a huge part in how we connect with one another. And we're connecting more globally than we are locally. And it's shifting how we interact. And people are in their phones and they're on their computers and they're doing so many other things that they're not really present with people. And people are losing what it feels like to be present. And so I think more and more people are just becoming disengaged and disconnected because human interaction is taking, the back seat to what we have in front of us right now and all the time with technology and emails and everything else that we're bombarded with daily.
So am I reading in between the lines there that what you're really saying is that we're getting more and more disconnected from each other versus being connected?
Through technology?
Yeah.
I do believe that, and I know it goes against what some people really believe about what technology is doing for us, but at the same time, I think people are using it in ways that it's disconnecting us when we're in person. So we all have been to restaurants and we see people, on the phone when they have somebody right in front of them. And so
Right.
it's at times it's disconnecting us, at other times it's bringing us together. But mostly I think it's tearing us apart.
So I want to give an example from actually one of our shows, and this goes way back. We had a cast member who described something with her daughter, that when they are at home, mom is in the kitchen and daughter is in the bedroom, and they actually texting each other. What do you think of that?
Well, they're certainly not connected.
I really hope they have a huge house, is what I hope.
No, they
okay,
don't.
They don't have a huge house.
They don't.
So, yeah, I find
They live
that-
in New York, actually.
Okay, so I find that interesting, and some people have told me recently, I don't have teenagers, but people have told me that that's how you have to talk to them. So I guess if that's the only way they'll listen to you, or that's the only way you can connect with them, I'd say I guess that's okay, but my preference would be that you have that face-to-face time, because now we're talking in acronyms and different things that it's changing our communication and how we even interact. So it's not what I would prefer, but if it's the only way you can get through to somebody, then of course that's the best way then.
Well, interestingly, go ahead.
I was going to say, would that be because the younger generation don't like the eye contact with their parents or with whomever they're talking to? Because I see an awful lot out there when you're talking to someone, the eye contact is not there, or they haven't been brought up to, when you talk to somebody, you talk to them and look at them. So would that be with the teenagers of not wanting to confront with eye contact because they're not telling the truth, the teenagers?
No, need not. Like they're not going to tell the truth.
Well,
I think it's avoidance. I mean, it really is.
That's
when
what
you
it
look
is,
at the
avoidance.
technology, like Andrew said, it's great for connecting in some ways, but when it talks about relationships with an individual, I mean, there's so much that's taken away from that. We just don't
Like
have
you just
that.
touched my arm.
I did
and
that.
And that felt really good.
Well, it felt good for
And
me too.
it connected me to
Right.
you in a different way.
Right.
And if you were texting with me right now.
I can't reach out and touch you.
That wouldn't be happening.
No.
Well, you
no,
probably could, but
Yeah.
you probably could be that close.
And we were talking about energy before, and just
yes.
like you can't feel someone's energy through technology. It's so much harder. And when you're in person, that connection gets built 10 times faster. So that's why I'm not such an advocate for community, for technology, except through means of communication, making that faster and easier. But to lose that sense of humanness is a tragedy to me.
A lot of people don't understand energy, though. A lot of people, that's a foreign word to them, like energy. What does that mean? You mean like energy to run the gas, or you know? Like
Turn the switch on.
turn the switch on. They just don't understand, and I think they're unconscious. Now you're very aware of it, and so is Steve and Ninon and myself.
Yeah.
I mean, when I come in contact with a person, it's like my energy's out there scoping, like, oh, what am I knowing about them? What am I sensing? And being present and grounded and just feeling them out. Or is it something like, I'm going to stay away from them because there's just something about that I just don't like? But a lot of people aren't aware that they do that.
I do think more and more people are becoming aware of energy, though. Even like I wouldn't call my parents spiritual people by any means. And my mom even talks about, she's got bad energy. Every time she comes over, she's got bad energy. And so people are knowing, they're hearing it more and more. They feel it. I mean, you walk in.
I think that's also because we're bringing it up more and more. We're bringing up energy. We're bringing up consciousness. We're bringing up all this stuff because we don't have that connection. And I think what's happening now is we're trying to get that connection back again. And we're trying to find ways to do it. But because of the, you were talking about when we don't have this connection, but we've got a tremendous amount of connection now through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all these places. You might not have immediate connection, but you end up with an awful lot of friends all over the world, which is connecting.
Well, for me, I get the thing with social media, and I get all that stuff. But for me, all of those connections to me are very superficial. Like when I first got onto the internet and did social media, and this is going back probably 10, 12 years when I really got involved, I would say back then I was much more connected to people on the internet than I am today. Mm-hmm. Because today I don't really have the time to get with people in Facebook and chat and get on Skype and chat with people. Because back then it was new and I enjoyed it. But now I'm noticing that I got way too many things going on, and I don't have time for casual conversations. Do you?
Not really. Plus, I feel like
sad.
not on Facebook. Not on Facebook. Face to face, like those interactions at the grocery store or at Starbucks, those are priceless to me. Like those interactions are fantastic.
Yeah.
But on Facebook, I feel like it's a lot of noise, and it really clutters our mind and our thinking. And we are sitting in our home, probably on the computer, looking at what other people are saying and looking at the highlight reel of somebody else's life and comparing it to our own inner turmoil. And it's creating more disconnection because people are thinking that they're home alone, which aloneness is an epidemic that we face. And they're seeing all these people being active and looking like they have these most joyful lives.
They look like
They look like it. It's a deception,
like
because it's what we put out there, what we want people to know about us. And so we're very selective in that. And so I think it caused more disconnection and it's not a place really, it's a place for sharing. It's a great place for sharing photographs and for sharing information. Mm-hmm. But for true connection to take place, it's got to move from online to offline. Mm. So
I think, Steve, if I remember rightly, a couple of weeks ago when it was, you mentioned that you like getting out more, and you're starting to go to some functions and parties and different things and meeting people. And you said you hadn't done it for so long and how much you absolutely loved it. And you said actually talking to these people was great, and you were so enthusiastic about it, of going out into the world. And then you also said, I can get more done meeting them actually face to face than I can do it on the computer or connection.
Well, absolutely. There's no question. It's really difficult for me. A lot of people loved email, and I despise email.
Really? No wonder he doesn't answer.
Because the reason I dislike email is because there's no. I'm not able to communicate in an email how I feel. So to me it's very cold, and it's just a matter of fact. So the only thing I'm interested in doing in email is confirming an appointment or setting up an appointment or, something really mundane thing. I can't carry on. Now, some people, I have received emails where it goes on for 2 or 3 pages and they actually tell me all this stuff. But I'm not into text. I'm into visual and I'm into auditory. No wonder I do broadcasting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think that's where the juice is. There is no juice for me in email. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's okay. I mean, we all know what works for us and what doesn't.
Right,
so.
and there are some people that tell me that that's their preference, and I honor their preference. And in that case, I'm not going to force them to do video or to do, auditory or call me. If they just want email, then that's what they get. So what I'm curious about, Andrea, is I know your passion is community and creating community and maintaining community. So give us some examples, just for us here and also to the viewers. How have you successfully created a community, and what did you get out of it?
I'm working on many different communities, and I think each of us belong to many different communities in our lifetime and whatever period of life that we're in at the moment. And one of the communities that I've created is for the Speaking Your Truth book series that we did. And we did that because we felt like there was this epidemic of loneliness. And how many times have all of us gone through something where we really felt that we were the only person experiencing that thing in our life, whether it was divorce or loss or tragedy of some kind. And we feel so alone during those times. And so we created a community of women who were sharing their stories and connecting through their stories. And so with that, we've had 3 different volumes, and we get together regularly still, so everyone can still connect and have community.
So men don't go through this stuff?
Well, no, they do. They do, and we didn't intentionally exclude men. We just made it for women, and I did get some slack for that.
It's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah,
actually.
I know, and I'm so sorry.
Start including these men, whether we like it or not.
Because what I'm finding women are doing today, and it's backfiring, and it has to backfire. They're copying what men have done for hundreds of years, which is excluding women.
Are you kidding?
No,
Yes.
No, I think I'm going to agree with that.
Yes, I am not
agree with
kidding.
that.
Yes, I am not kidding. Yes, because we have women coming through our network
Okay.
that they specifically, very clear how they express themselves. And they say, I'm only interested in coaching women. And I'm only interested in helping women to become more powerful. Well, that's great. I love that. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing: copying what man has done in the past isn't going to help us right now, because what we did in the past wasn't exactly always the right thing to do.
So if you don't want women to copy, what do you want them to do?
Okay, go ahead. Disagree with me.
We have to now do something you want us to do again?
Do what?
Say it again, Nina.
I said, we've always followed the man. We've always sort of, the man's always led. So now the women are sort of leading and everything else. So what Steve just said is we're copying the men. So what does he want us to do? Does he want us to listen to them again? And
well, no. What you're copying, I just want to be clear about it. What you're copying is a lot of women are leaving men out. Okay? And for me, that doesn't work. Because what works is community works, and working together and being a team works. And if you're just going to do things, and I understand and I know that women has this thing that they're very comfortable with each other, much more than men are. I'll give you that. And I don't know what that is. You can explain that to me. But like when I've been to many restaurants and I've been to many coffee shops together, men and women, and you ladies just turn to each other and go, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You want to go? And then you grab your stuff and you go together. Well, men don't do that. But why is it that for you, ladies, are so much more ease when it comes to being with each other than it is for men?
I think for women, we show
That's something
emotion.
you can teach us, by the way.
That's right. So for women, my sense for me is that we're more connected in such that we're able to easily show our emotion. Most of us. Men, in the culture that they're brought up, they're supposed to be strong, don't cry, don't do this, don't do that. And unfortunately, that's not good. Because I think with complementary therapy, that's going to, in that kind of realm, that's going to change eventually, but maybe not in the next 10 years. But I would disagree that you say that women are following what men used to do. I would
Well,
strongly.
I didn't make that as a general statement.
No,
I was very specific about what I
I
meant.
think I think you have to understand that women are the breeders, and you mustn't forget that the women are the ones that bring the children up, boys and girls.
There you go. Thank you,
So
Nina.
we have the advantage, which we do, and I don't mind putting it out there, of bringing up the guys, and we bring them up until, and they're always, we call a lot of the guys mummies boys, but, which is out there, but at the same time, we do bring them up. So we do know what they're like for those first 18 years anyway.
And I would also say, when you talked about like with women working with certain women, I think that if an individual such as myself, I've chosen what I've been drawn to is working with women with breast cancer and ovarian. Not to say that it wouldn't be men, but right now where I am, that's my passion. And if I follow my passion, it's going to be the right thing rather than saying, oh, let me go and work with this set of group, whatever. I think that's important for each individually solely to find their passion that they want to work with, what community, and then, if it's so be it, it may expand into other things and what have you. Because men are starting to get breast cancer now, which is very rare, but they are. So.
Okay, well, that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole nother, okay, but
Yeah.
go ahead. But that's community. Go ahead.
So help us a little bit more about how do you, regardless if it's only women or men and women or just men, how does someone create community, and how do you keep it maintained so that people keep showing up?
That's a good question. So there's 3 things that I mainly teach. The first is that each and every person matters. And when we create community, we must operate from that foundation piece that everywhere we go, every single person that we meet and greet, they matter. They have significance, and their life means something. And so we cannot have community unless we truly believe that about every human being that we're interacting with. So that's one. The second is that we all belong, and to practice inclusion at all costs. So that's why I agree with you, because I don't like any.
She disagrees with me, but that's fine.
Well, I don't like any form of separation or any group that says we're better or we know more because we're in this group together. And I think you can always blur those lines, and we can always find ways to work together. But the second thing for creating community is that every person knows that they belong. I mean, how many times have you walked into a room and you feel like an outsider or an outcast? That's the opposite of community if you're walking into a place and feeling like you don't fit in. But you don't fit in, or you feel like you don't fit in because you don't believe that you matter. That's usually the first thing that starts going through your head is, I must not be worth anything because I don't belong here, I don't fit in. And then the third thing is that each person has something to offer, each person has a contribution to make, and each person can make a difference, whether big or small, it doesn't really matter. But we must remember that each and every person really has something to offer us back. And I think so many times we don't see that in everybody, and people take people for granted, assuming that they don't have anything to give back. But those are the 3 foundational pieces for creating a community.
Yeah, and how are people in the community then show up individually without forcing them to show up, like that they really want to?
Can you ask that a different way? Or are you saying how are they showing up?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So how do you find that people in the community actually consistently, I guess the word is, consistently show up in support of each other? Because it's really being of service. It's not about me, 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 me. And I guess, I could say that I found, and I still find, that Americans have very much so become me, 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 me. I come first, and then whatever comes next, and next, and next, and then maybe on the list on 4th, 5th, or 6th, there's community.
Maybe.
So, but the way I feel today, and how do I know that? Because I used to be like that. So how I feel now is I'm much more interested in helping others than to help myself, because I already know that by helping others, I'll be taken care of. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to focus on me, 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 because what I'm interested in doing now is to, is to really give back. I'm at that stage of my life, is that all the stuff that I learned about, broadcasting or being in business or being somebody, quote unquote. I have a master's degree in how to be somebody. because my
We all think we have.
core issue is I'm a nobody. Yeah. So that how do people? So let me just give you an example, a current example. So I'm having a challenge because Denver Open Media, where we're doing the show right now, is a community of several hundred people, and I'm having a challenge right now to get people to show up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so help me. I'm going to declare that I need help. Okay, I don't know it all.
Get them to show up with what, though?
To have people show up and help each other.
Okay. To come and help you do your show.
To help me do my show, and I'll help them do their show and do whatever. Okay. So right now, I need to be really creative to get people engaged. Now, is this engagement, is that up to the community, or is it up to a leader?
I think it's both. I mean, I think it has to start with the leader, and then the community has to take hold of it. The thing is, with community, it has law of gestation, so it doesn't happen overnight. And what I find is that too many people give up or quit too soon, like we do with so many things. Mm-hmm. And so when you really want to make a difference in how people are showing up within the community, you have to lead as the example and be consistent with it and let people know what the vision is and get people's buy-in to the vision, and then show what you're doing for them as well, so they'll be more likely to reciprocate back. But it takes time, and like I said, I think people give up way too easily. And as long as we be very vulnerable and open and genuine about the reason for what we're trying to create, and genuine in creating a connection, it happens. But unfortunately, relationships and community is not overnight, and I wish there was some quick path to getting there, but it really does take time.
You're absolutely right, and I think what it is, a lot of you know that I had a TV show for the younger generation. I had it for 17, 18 years, and I started it out by giving back to the younger generation because I'd been very successful. To do this, I needed people to come and help me and to let them know, but I had to give them the message of what I was trying to do, and I was taking no money from it, and I never did take any money out of it. It was something I was giving back. And you're absolutely right. It does take time to get communities out there to actually come in, and I was having shows every single day for 16 years on the educational station in Los Angeles, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work out there. A lot of appeasing people, acknowledging people, understanding what you want and what you need, and you've got to give the message to them of what you're trying to do. But you've also got to make sure that they become part of it. And without them, you can't really do it. And you have to give them that sort of encouragement that they are part of it. And when they become part of it, they're out there to help you, because then their name is there. Their name is on the credits. Their name is out there. And everybody, unfortunately or fortunately, wants something. And that's what I did. And I did that for many, many years. And you're right, it took a little while, but it worked.
But you just said all the things that those 3 points I made, that every person mattered, every person had meaning for being there, every
Correct.
person belonged, and then
Yes.
they all made a contribution. And when you really infuse that into people, they get buy-in. They start to become a part of community. Yeah. So you have to do those things, and you didn't say the same words as I did, but you said it exactly. It's the same principles.
I wrote a book with another young lady called Joyful Volunteering. It's all about volunteering and all the sort of things I did, but we got a lot of letters and things from people, and there was one particular woman who lived in San Francisco. She would get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and she would go to all the bakeries, and she was known as the woman with the cupcakes, and she used to go around herself in a little car and everything else, and she would go around, and all these people would give her the cakes because a little smiling face came along. She was nice to them. She was grateful. And she would give all these cakes to the homeless. And that was her contribution to the community. And everybody liked her and everybody loved her. And it was so beautiful the way she did it, but she included them all. And that's, I think, what you have to do.
Great. Mm-hmm. So, Janet, what community do you belong?
Well, let me see. I've got many of them.
Give us a few.
Give you a few. Working with, one thing's community is my family, because I live on a ranch, and I live in a multi-generation home. So that's one community, is my family. My other one is my Rubenfeld Synergist, my modality. I have my Synergist sisters, and there's a couple guys. I just wanted to include that.
Oh, good.
So that's another community. That's another community I belong to, and we do quite a bit of training together for postgraduates. So that's one. Another community is I'm working with women with cancer. So that's another community. Now, some of these communities do overlap. And then I got laid off from a very well-known corporate company here in Denver, maybe 6 years ago. So my management team, we all got laid off. There's like 7 of us. So ever since 2009 of January, we meet every couple months. That's another community, you know, that we come together and we kind of see what's happening in each other's lives and support each other because, you know, being laid off and going on unemployment and now everybody's kind of gone their different ways and found their journey. So that's another community. How's that? How am I doing so far?
Well, would you consider Living Consciously TV a community?
That's another one. Yes.
Okay.
That's another community.
I was just wondering.
That was a nice plug.
A little plug there, Steve.
It's my job.
It's your job. Yeah. Maybe you should put it up there like and write it.
Okay,
yes.
so what about you, Nina? And what communities are you involved in?
Well, I'm actually at the moment I'm working on. I just moved to Vegas. Actually, I've lived here about a year and a half, and I did a tremendous amount of work in Los Angeles, and was very, very well known there in different communities. One was Loyola Marymount University. I founded the Hal Roach Awards there, and we raised money for our younger generation. It became a big community, and everybody helped, and it was just amazing. I was an outsider not working for Loyola Marymount University, and they were all working for it. So I was bringing something together with the Hilton family and everybody. But what I'm doing right now, I'm working on something which is very delicate, actually, in Vegas. You wouldn't think it was, but it's trafficking. The younger generation I've always been involved in. And so now I'm getting all different meetings together. In fact, I had a meeting the other day with Lena. She's the honorary consul to Sweden. She's become a friend of mine here. And now I got her together with one of the city council people here in Vegas. That's who I'm getting to know. So I'm getting them involved to help us with the trafficking because we're trying to build a clinic to help these girls, you know, because they're on drugs and everything, and help them get out of, you know, where they're at and what they're doing and with the trafficking. And it's a very, very big job. And and the casinos are not really with us. They're against it because they use these young people. And I was shocked when I found out that these kids start at 12 years old. These pimps pick them up. So we're now also going more after the pimps, and we're getting involved with them because they are the ones that should be in jail, not the girls. And we've been doing it the reverse. We've been sending the girls to jail, and the pimps go free. So now we're trying to reverse that.
So there's that much of so you're actually bringing in awareness of the trafficking? I thought that was old ages. I mean, I know girls are 18.
Trafficking? No, that's a huge problem. Even here in Colorado.
Even here in Colorado. Well, I'm obviously not.
It's put under the carpet.
That must be pretty good.
Vegas is one of the biggest and well-known places for trafficking, and understand it is also gambling here. So we understand that. It doesn't mean to say you have to have 12-year-olds, and that's what we have.
Oh, that's
so it's very, 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 very bad. So I'm getting myself involved in that, but it's not. And then I had lunch the other day with another young lady. She's from Iran, and she's been to India and different parts of the world, helping the young children and everything else. But now she's dedicating herself to Las Vegas, and so I'm now trying to help her. We're getting this lovely little community together of all these sort of not always important people, but a lot of them are, because they are the ones that can actually get the ball rolling and help things happen. But also to get the surrounding areas as well. And it's a matter of giving them. Making these women or these men both to feel good and to feel part of it. And I think that's being in a community. That's what a community is. Make everybody feel part of it, like you were saying. And if they feel part of it, they want to do more. And it's amazing how it works. So it's just, you know, it takes time, but that's what I'm working on, Steve.
Wow. Okay, great, awesome. All right, so something I've noticed on a national level, that every time we have something happen like a 9/11. Immediately, everybody becomes community conscious, and it just happens magically. But it's temporary.
Just for a little while.
Why is that?
It's a question that I contemplate often, because I remember those days right after 9/11. I mean, our country, to me, felt so united. I was in Florida at the time, and we all felt united down there and felt like a community. I mean, how many American flags were waving out in the streets? I mean, every single home had one. And I really remember that time as being one of the most profound senses of community. And then, of course, the Boston Marathon and these other like school shootings that we have. And I'm not sure what it is that triggers people to go back to their day-to-day. I know after 9/11, there was a comment that was made by the president at the time about get back to your normal lives and be an American consumer and things like that. And
spend.
spend. Be the American that you should be.
Support your local Walmart store.
Yes, support your
Well,
store.
you know, we've just got a great example with these 3 little girls that were just found. You know, they were captivated for 10 years, a decade. And people right in the area didn't know.
Oh, wow,
I mean,
that's right.
talk about a community. There's a community right there that nobody knew about.
That was an unconscious community. They
Well,
were
but
unconscious.
it's still a community. It's still people, and they're
True.
very family-orientated people. They all go to each other's barbecue. That's what they say. Do they really? Did they really notice something different? No, they didn't.
Well, you know what Andrea said about like 9/11? I was in D.C., 7 blocks, working in headquarters for FAA from the Capitol. So I was caught it took me 6 hours to get out of D.C. And you talk about community. You talk about significant emotional event. It was, I can say it's fascinating now, but at the time it was it was just like, wow, to be caught in D.C. and to walk out the building knowing that those 2 planes went into the World Trade Center, to know that there was one heading towards the Pentagon or the Capitol, and you're hearing all these different rumors, and it's complete gridlock, you know, and there's people on the street, and everybody's trying to get a cell phone, no cell phone, you know, because everything was jammed. There's cars, there's sirens going off. Nobody could move. They shut down the metro system, which was the only way I could get out of D.C. Mm-hmm. So to be stuck and trapped, but to be also another piece of know that you can ask somebody, like, well, what's happening, you know, is the metro? Well, it's closed here, but if you go to this other metro, you'll be able to see there. And then getting on the metro after 2 hours, because people were literally walking across railroad tracks to go to Virginia and what have you. But what's interesting is getting on in the metro. They started it up, but they circumnavigate. They went around the Pentagon. They didn't stop because the plane had just crashed there. And what was fascinating was being stuck in this metro, and the door would open up, nobody would get off, more people get on, and everybody kept getting closer and closer and closer. But nobody went and said anything. But there were people that were getting on and said, I heard this, and it would ripple through the whole train. I mean, it was like sardine, but yet it was easeful, it was peaceful, and yet everybody was there. So that was a fascinating piece to look back on.
It's funny you should bring that up, Janet, because I interviewed the only survivor where the plane went in this particular building, and I interviewed the only survivor of it, and he was telling me the whole story and how he came out. And when somebody suddenly saw him, he said it was amazing how everybody rushed to him and helped him, and it was just amazing. And he was the only survivor, and he said it was just the most strangest thing of being the only survivor, being alone in a place where he had worked with so many people and he knew so many people, and it was just so sad for him. But he was well helped after that, so the community did come together afterwards, but it was a very, very strange time of our year. But I think what we need to ask is, how do we get people to get involved in a community now? How do we get people to get back together again?
Yeah, without a 9/11.
tragedy.
Yeah,
And so,
exactly.
Yeah, without
Yeah.
anything else, but get
So
everything.
So
How we just do it.
I just want to connect the dots here for a second because it's something I enjoy doing. So here's the dots. So a nation is no different than a human being. What I've seen throughout the years that I've been on my journey is that most human beings require a 2x4 for them to wake up,
Really?
right? And I think like a 9/11 is a 2x4 to a nation.
It is.
It's just it's so big that it hits everybody. And all of a sudden people wake up and go, oh, so there's this alternative. We can actually be nice to our neighbor, and we can actually be, you know, on a metro and really close to each other and not
Very close.
not kill each other.
Yeah, not be frustrated or
Yeah.
angry.
And
Well,
not
like-
get frustrated.
like- yeah.
And so I had this experience. I don't know if you remember Mountain St. Helens when it blew.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually living in Portland. I was on I-5, very close, like only 30 miles away. Everybody stopped. All the cars stopped on I-5. They all pulled over. People were getting out, including myself, getting out of our cars, and we were kissing our butts goodbye. And we were hugging each other, and we were crying. And we said, oh, my God, we just have minutes. Let's just enjoy the last few minutes, because I think we're all dead. Because you could see the thing just blew, and I mean,
And
we
all
all
that
seen
stuff
it.
was coming your
we
way.
all seen it
Yeah.
before. Lava is coming, and
Right.
that's it. It's over. So I'm noticing that your eyes are watering up.
Yeah.
And so what's going on over there?
Well, that's what I want to instill in people is that sense of connectedness, and I think we miss that. Like we're only really faced with it when we're scared that we're not going to live any longer. And like all of these things that are tragedies are a reflection that our life isn't permanent here, that we're temporary.
True.
And to have those moments, that's deep connection to another human being. And so many of us are missing out on human connection like that. And I think if we all got back to a place where we really saw each other all as brothers and sisters and all part of one big human race, that we would have this deep connection towards one another. And our society, our culture, our world would shift because we would be looking out for each other. We would be standing up for one another. We would be doing what's right for all, not just what's right for ourselves. And to me, we could create this beautiful world, and that's the world that I want to create.
Sounds great. I'm actually falling in love with you right now. So how do you do this in the world? I mean, because it's like, okay, so now I want to be around you a lot. What are we going to do?
Well, I think, it goes back to that connection piece, is that I just was with a group and we did a table topic on this past Wednesday, and we talked about how to really get past the small talk, because I think we don't get really a chance to connect with people because we're engaged in conversations about the weather and miscellaneous, and to really move to a place of true, deep, meaningful connection. And so with that, we have to be open, we have to be vulnerable, we have to be willing to be authentic with people, and we have to allow ourselves to just connect and to feel that we belong. And it goes back to that taking time, but it's how we show up with people and being present. And the only thing I know for sure that I can do is to show up that way in different places, and people say, I want to be around you more. I want to know what Kool-Aid are you drinking?
Yeah. Because it feels good.
Yeah. So that's the only way I know how to do it, is to be what I'm teaching. So.
Fantastic.
It's funny, I just saw a tape on the internet, actually, and going back to, and I actually sent it over to Facebook, and the video was all about helping other people. And it was like people stopping their car and helping an old lady across the street. It was another one, somebody had dropped something, so somebody else picked it up. And they were giving these little vignettes of how people were helping other people. And the reaction of this one helped this one triggered the brain also thinking, oh, I'm now going to help somebody. And it was funny how it all went along of each person just opening up and helping somebody else. And I think sometimes we're afraid to do that, and I don't know why, that we're afraid to just stop and help somebody, and I don't know why that is, but...
I definitely know why.
Why?
Well, I hear it so many times. Every time I'm out there doing a talk, people tell me, but there's bad people out there. There's people who would hurt you out there. Mm-hmm. And they really believe this. They believe this to be their truth. And I with all of my heart, believe that the majority of the people in this world are good people, but our media is glorifying all of the bad things and the bad people out there. And so
wait, hang on for a second.
Okay.
Don't forget your thoughts.
Okay.
So the media is a community.
It is.
Mm-hmm. And so,
But don't forget, we're part of it at the moment.
Yes. So it's a community.
Don't forget that. So don't knock it too much.
but I don't want to dance around it like I'm dancing on needles, because the truth is that when I turn on Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 9, or Channel 14, these are the major commercial channels in Denver, at news time, I get the same food served to me. It's like almost like they copied each other.
Yeah.
Like they're such a good community that they work so much together as a team that the only thing is different is their symbols, but it's the same. It's the same food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or they mixed the list up on how they
on
how they report.
Yeah, they changed the order of things.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the same thing. But they also say, well, you're only going to hear this on Channel 9. No. Just go to Channel 7. They're talking about the same thing. So what's up with that, and why people are so not all people, but most people are so drawn to this stuff?
I don't know the reason to that. The only thing that I can think of is it's the same thing as having drama in our life. And if we don't have drama in our life, some people either create it in their life or they want to hold on to it in some other fashion. And so the media, or news especially, is one outlet for people to do that. And I don't know. I don't know. But I think people, when they hear something that's fearful, they attach to it. I know even in tragedies like when 9/11 and Boston, all that happened, I'm glued to the television. I'm glued to the newscast, and I can't help but turn my eyes from it because I want to be more connected. And so I think it's also a false sense of connection in their community that they're feeling like they really are in the know and they're really part of something by listening to all these tragedies and traumas that are happening around town.
And I really wouldn't mind reporting on that stuff if they could just kind of balance it out. So maybe half the news would be positive and another half would be negative, and just mix it up, and that way we get
sell.
That way we get it doesn't sell.
That's what's been proven in media, I guess, is that the good news stories don't really sell, and so they put those in when it's a slow news day for the bad stuff, but they don't really fill the newscast with that.
And then whose responsibility is that? Is that the media, or is it the people that are watching?
It's the people. It's the people because
You're watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your audience is who it is. That's who. But I also feel sometimes when they do bring these news media stories out, like Boston, it also makes you aware of what's going on and to be aware. So they're giving a couple of messages out. So don't just lock yourself into what's going on there. Start thinking about when you're out and what's going on and what's happening, and be aware of what's happening around you and your community. I think that's also a message given out there that I don't think many people see that actually.
So I do want to share a quick story. This past winter, I was driving to meet a client, and I'm driving down the road after one of our many snowstorms this year, and there's a lot of snow on the ground. It's cold, and a woman had the hood of her car up, and she was waving jumper cables at everybody who drove by her, and everybody kept passing. And when I got out to her, I'm like, well, this is what I talk about. This is what I have to do. So I stopped. I did a quick, circle around to pull right up so that my hood of my car faced her hood of her car. Right. She connected the jumper cables. It took all of about 90 seconds. And at the end, our car started right away. At the end, she looked at me and she said, thank you. You wouldn't believe how many people drove past me and wouldn't stop.
That's what happens.
And that is what happens. And that is because we're afraid of one another. We're afraid that people are different than us or that they'll hurt us. But the truth is that so many people are good people. And I just want people to remember that and to not put their head down when they're walking around, but to look up and to make eye contact with people and to smile. And for nothing else, we're all human beings that want love, acceptance, and belonging. And so we have a basis and a foundation for connection right there. And we're not all that different. We may wear different clothes, we may have different religions, but we're not that different.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you. So I agree with you that we're all the same, and there isn't really that much difference. We all have a story or multiple of stories, and most of the stories are very similar, except the actors and actresses are different, and maybe the storyline is slightly different, but there's tons of commonality between all of us, and even regardless of our skin color or all of that stuff. However, I lived in New York for 3 years. Have you?
I'm so glad I didn't. No. No.
New York.
So, and the reason why I'm respectfully disagreeing with you, because in New York, this is so prevalent. Is that you don't even want to take the chance of asking somebody on the street what time it is, because it's not a pretty sight.
Oh, I would. You see, I would not be afraid of that. And
Now, see, I'm
not afraid of anywhere. I am not afraid of being in any place and talking to anybody at any time. Never.
Yeah, and I've asked for directions on the street there before and been fine. But I think it is a culture in New York and some of the bigger cities where people are very into their own world.
Oh, yeah.
They don't look up.
That's it.
You're on the subway and
then
you
don't
can't
look at
even.
you.
You could be dancing in front of them and they wouldn't notice.
They don't want to be involved. They do not want to be involved. No. So they avoid it. They avoid them by looking down, looking away, and eye contact. They do not have eye contact. But I'm not like that at all. I talk to everybody. You know that, Steve. So
since I love technology so much, I just want to bring up one more thing. So most of you heard about the Google Glasses, right? So you know that with the new Google Glass, you will be able to actually watch a video while you're talking to somebody, and they won't even know that you're watching a video.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, they're glasses that look just like regular glasses. But
they look like regular
glasses.
Why
would you do that?
It's a computer.
And they can actually even record the conversation.
I was going to say they can start filming it. There's a little camera on these
glasses.
glasses.
There's camera built in.
And why would you do that?
They're trying to ban them. They say
what Google is talking about, the reason why it's time for this technology is because, and to some extent I agree with them, is that in the 30 plus years that we had computers,
Right.
The interface to the computer has not changed. It's very clumsy. It's the keyboard and it's the mouse. And everything else within computers have changed a million times, but the input devices, and it makes it really clunky that you have to have a keyboard and you have to have, and now what's been changing is with the iPads and with all the new technologies that you can actually, start using your finger and move things around without a keyboard. But they believe that with the Google Glass, it's a whole new way of interacting with your computer. And you don't need a keyboard. You'll be able to talk to it. You'll be able to use I think they're working on technology where you can actually use your eyes to control what you want to happen.
Okay.
And so it's just a new way of controlling your computer versus.
Okay, so the glasses are for computer and not for connection with community.
Well, who knows how it's going to turn out?
That's what I want to know. So
I
if I
don't-
look
I
at
don't know.
somebody, am I gonna know?
I don't know how it's going to
Film
turn out
anybody you
because in essence, if you think about it, you could be talking to somebody right now, like you could be talking to me right now.
Okay.
Okay, and you
And
are.
right.
And my mind could be going somewhere completely differently, and,
And
you
I
don't.
will know
and you
that.
don't.
I know
and
that.
you may or may not know that.
I will know that.
Yeah,
Because I'll
you
know.
will,
I
but
will,
a lot of
most
people,
won't. Okay.
don't. Matter of fact, the way people listen is that, and you do a lot of speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my experience is people, the way they listen is they only get 10% of what you're saying.
True.
Why? Because their mind is going. They don't know how to control the mind, and all the stuff that's going on in their head, all these conversations, the good guy, the bad guy. What are you going to do next? Like all the things that you have to do, all the tasks. So we forget to be. We forget to be right now in the present moment. And we lose out a lot.
Or we forget to communicate.
A lot.
Yeah.
This
A
is
lot.
what you
We don't
call
get- we don't-
communication. We're not communicating.
Yeah, we don't really get what people are really saying to us.
We don't care what
because
they say.
We
We're not
can't
interested.
possibly get it.
Because we're not listening.
We're not
Right.
interested. That's why.
Right.
Because the other person hasn't grasped you enough to be interested.
So
They're
I
thinking their
believe
own
the
things.
Google Glass is just going to somewhat amplify what's already going on.
I definitely, I think that's taking it a little bit too far, but I don't know how many people are actually going to really wear them, and unless they're complete techies, but who knows? We,
Yeah, we'll
we
see.
never know what we're
I
really
think the
shifting
younger
to.
generation are going to wear them. I think the younger generation, they're going to be out there buying them and putting them on and having games and doing their thing.
And talking about the younger generation, I know you work with them a lot.
Yeah,
you
I love
know, do you feel that they're going to recognize that they're missing this big part of human connection? That
Because they never had it.
you don't think it'll
It
happen
started,
just
it all
naturally?
started.
They
It
don't
all
miss something they
started.
already don't have.
Yeah, you can't miss something you don't have.
But sometimes
You
we've
have-
craved
yeah, but you
things
have
that
to
we don't even
remember
know
this-
what we're craving because we haven't, even though we haven't experienced it, we know we're craving something or something's missing. They may not be able to put words to
You
it,
know where
but
this all
something could be
started
missing.
from? This all started because the mother and father started working. The mother was always at home. Okay, so now the mother goes out to work. Now the kid mostly is at school from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. A lot of kids do that. So they don't have their mother and father. They all get together when they come home. Kid goes to this bedroom to do the computer, da-da-da-da-da. Nobody communicates. So these kids now are brought up in a completely different way of discommunicating. So they've all got their little iPads and their phones and their computers, and that's what they're used to. This is how they are brought up.
Devices.
now-
They refer
Yeah.
to devices.
Yeah, they're devices. So for them to communicate is texting. That's how that's. Oh yeah, I communicate, and you say, okay, great, that's wonderful. How do you communicate? Oh, we text each other, and I look and I say, oh, that's communicating. Well, it is to them. So answering your question, no, they're not missing anything because we were brought up in one way, you were brought up in a different way, Steve was brought up in another way. And I was brought up with communication. Mum and Dad, we all sat around, had dinner. We all talked. We all played together. We communicated together. Kids don't have that now, but they don't know it's there to not have.
Well, I'm putting some faith and trust back into the next generation of parents right now because we know what connection was and is, and so if we can instill that and take away some of those technological things when kids are really young, and I think we will know that it's being missed, and hopefully from there change. I think the generation that where kids are teenagers right now, technology we didn't know what the effects were going to be of technology,
No,
and so
that's
everything's
right.
just been handed to them without knowing the consequences, and everybody's been so enthralled by it. But I think it's going to shift back. I have
agree
faith.
with you.
I have faith.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds are realizing there's a gap here of discommunication, and I think a lot of them are trying to get it back again, and I agree with you on that. But it's going to be hard for them to do because of technology.
True.
Yeah, so believe it or not, we're getting kind of close to the end of the show, as usual. It always goes like 5 minutes. So let's go around the table and just each one of us, if you could share, what is it that you really get out of community? Like, what's the direct benefit to you?
For me, it's all about human connection and just really feeling like I belong to something greater than myself, and being somewhere that I can make a contribution. Is all of those things. So, but mainly it's deep connection.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, before we go to you,
Okay. Go back to, yeah.
I meant to ask you this before and I forgot. So I know that you're very much into service, and you're very passionate about it. I mean, I feel it. And my experience, and I could be way off, okay, and I'm willing to be, but my experience with people that are so much into service and so passionate about giving have a real hard time receiving. How are you doing?
I do okay
Over
with
there.
it. I
You
wouldn't
do
say I'm
okay?
the greatest at it.
Yeah.
I definitely practice different things, like when people pay a compliment to me, or just receiving even small things. And I'm getting better at even being in conversation with people where if I'm in conversation with somebody, to me that means I'm asking them a lot of questions, because I love to learn about people, but to be more reciprocal and to share more about myself too, because they need that as well. So I'm practicing it. I'm definitely getting better, but I wouldn't say I'm the best.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so what's in it for you when it comes to community?
Well, what I learned from a big project I did down in Mississippi, where they didn't have a rec center, a very poor community, you know, the haves and the have-nots, mostly have-nots. What I found out by doing the nonprofit and doing everything, what I got in it was really the gratitude and appreciation to the community. Because if you understand the culture down in Mississippi, if you're a certain, race, you're not privileged to rent facilities down there, and that's unfortunate. So what I did was I worked with the community and took an old gym and made it into a rec center, and they have a beautiful kitchen. So personally, I think it's just really, it really fed my passion, but really having people appreciate what I did through the barriers that I had to overcome, because I was always being challenged by the other community of not having them have really nice stuff. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, it sure does. I'm kind of in a way that when I have done things like providing a TV show for somebody,
right,
at no cost, and I do it, and I don't accept. It's not that I don't what a word. Expect anything in return.
Okay.
Because I'm already doing it as a way of serving someone and giving them an opportunity. And, I know that it will come back to me, and it doesn't have to be from the person that I'm doing it with. And so, I let all that go. And as long as...
The law of attraction.
Yeah, as long as they have an appreciation for what we're doing together, I'm cool.
And if they don't have appreciation?
I start not being cool if I'm noticing that they're taking advantage of what I do. I used to even, many years ago, I used to even do it then. I didn't care, but I kind of changed. Because if I'm noticing that people are not appreciating it, I cut it off in a minute now.
You should.
Yeah. So what about you, Ninan?
Oh dear, I have, I don't know, I have a lot of stuff out there that, I'm one of these people, and you know this, I'm a very positive person out there, so as far as communicating with people, I do it all the time. And if I see somebody, and I like what both of the young ladies said, that you've got to receive as much as you give. If you don't receive in a kind way, because you're actually making those people feel good when you actually acknowledge how great it is.
Did you just call me a young lady?
Yes. You're just one of the girls.
It's okay.
You're one of the girls.
It's okay.
I said two. I said two young ladies. So is it a third? lady there? Be careful, quick. I'll give you an example. I'm new to Vegas, and I've been doing a few radio shows in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And the way these people have treated me has been amazing. They don't know me. They brought me in, and obviously, I'm giving them something as well. I'm giving them knowledge. I'm giving them something for their radio show. But at the same time, they've all been so nice to me. But I truly believe it's the person. It is who you are, how you are. If you go around with a long face, you're not going to meet anybody.
I'm sorry, I got to cut you off because we got 1 minute left. Okay.
Well, I love you all.
I love you too. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our guest, Andrea. Thank you so much for being here in the studio. And of course, you to come in from all the way out there.
All the way out there from the ranch.
From Nowhere Land.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Janet. And also want to thank Ninan and of course everybody on the crew, on the technical staff to make this happen, and all of our guests as well. And if there's anything that we said here, touched, moved, and inspired people, please come to our website, livingconsciously.tv, and just engage with us and become part of our community. And that would be www.livingconsciously.tv. Thank you all, and see you next time, and I love you all.